I really hope that I can make a follow-up video to this video today, meaning I really want the New World devs to sit down and talk to their current PC player base and really start to kind of outline what is going to happen between now and, honestly, we could almost call it its New World's Reborn moment. New World Eternum launching on consoles and quote-unquote PC this fall. Now, there's a lot of confusion, and today I want to jump into some of y'all's comments. We're going to discuss them, and we're going to get y'all's points as well in this video, and just basically continue on this discussion. But what I start this video off saying I really hope the devs talk to us today. If they don't talk to us today, they need to talk to us soon. So I'm going to be bringing you guys any updated news and information if it does break, because ultimately I think we can, at least the majority of us, agree that the way that they handled this level of communication isn't what we were wanting or expecting or hoping for. And so there's many different points of failure when it comes down to that. Not that what they did at Summer Games Fest was wrong, but it was married with a dev update that was very much that. It was very much speaking to an audience that isn't checking out the game, it isn't playing the game. And I think if they had kept with their original, Summer Games Fest announcement, and then the dev update was actually speaking to its PC players, I think this weekend would have been much, much better received, because that's really what a lot of people are wondering. I get the frustration as a longtime player for New World and somebody who really enjoys this game and wants to see it continue to grow and just is actually very hopeful for the future. Bringing it to console and bringing these different features that they kind of shared, I think are going to be kind of critical to its success. One of the things they talked about this weekend that really wasn't clear in some of the different posts is they're really beating out and working to make sure that there isn't this queue time problem. And we're seeing the first phase of that with the latest release with sharding. And as they continue to move in that same kind of direction, if people can sit down, boot up New World, and just get in and play, where they said, and this is a feedback that I've had for a long time, the ability to guest on these different servers is going to be a thing. This is a huge moment where if your world is full, you can go play on another world, which is great. The question will end up becoming is that kind of like a reserve world where, like, oh, okay, here's our reserve world for overflow, or is it you get to pick and choose where you want to go? Time will tell, and I'll be sure to cover all of that and more. Also, I've been getting a lot of requests about controller support and my guides here on the channel. Please check out the guides playlist. That is essentially where you want to start, or you can always be a part of the Discord and you can always ask me directly. I just shot off a link to somebody today, which is great. So hopefully you guys enjoy the guide content and so much more here on the channel. Now, I'm stating all of this because I am also still a little bit frustrated. It's been good to be able to kind of sit down and process it, and I put up the kind of the live reactions to it. Some of you guys didn't really like those, and no worries. Like, that's not going to be the majority of my content. I'm not going to be pushing into a always kind of live style of content creator, but that's where these kind of videos and these talks directly make. I like doing these way better because it gives me the time to think and process and kind of put my notes together. But like I said, I think this is going to be a potential kind of Realm Reborn, a Final Fantasy 14 moment, and I would like to spend a little time talking about kind of the parallels from 1.0 to 2.0 for Final Fantasy 14, and at the same time the parallels of, I guess, New World to New World Eternum. And so when we look at how 14 was handled versus how New World was handled, there's actually like pros and cons of each. In Final Fantasy XIV's case, there is no way for you to go and experience 1.0. And as the game has seen rapid and rampant success over the last 10 plus years, people have wondered, what was that like? And so there's only just like a handful of us who remembered that experience. And we also, with that transition, saw them shift from a sandbox MMORPG into a theme park MMORPG. Now, New World, in parallel, has made that same similar shift, where originally they were looking at this sandbox PvP open world survival kind of MMO that kind of evolved, and now they are really labeling it an action RPG. And between that, it was listed as kind of a theme park MMO. Now, does that mean that the game's changing as an MMO? No, it's still exactly the version of the game that we have, except for it's going to be enhanced with all the improvements in the technology and things like that that they're working on, for the game itself. We're also getting the new content, like they said, but the question still remains, what do we do from now till then? But within that parallel, we've seen these evolving shifts. Now, 1.0 to 2.0 was radical and honestly well received. Theme park tends to be the language that people speak when they think of MMOs, and the fact that New World's marketing the game as an action RPG, honestly, pretty daggum smart, because typically there are some baggage with the MMO mindset. Yes, they were advertising also solo ability, but Final Fantasy XIV has that in spades. And so when it comes down to MMOs, when it comes to multiplayer, that M as a part of it, I don't think we're going to see kind of the modern MMO truly do that. That's why I feel modern MMOs are more like MSOs, massively single player online, where it opens it up, it gives you that ability, and that is something that's very attractive to a bigger, wider audience. And something like PAX Day, which I'm going to be playing and covering here on the channel, is exciting for me because I love that sandbox. That's what I grew up with. That's how I cut my teeth. That's where with 14 I was really excited and have missed several of the sandbox elements that got cut from 1.0 to 2.0. But back to the how are these two, and what who did right, who did wrong, etc. So with 14 though, the communication was pretty clear what they were doing from the get. In fact, it was an invitation that if you would like to help out, there was going to be some rewards and benefits for you. I'd love to see if the New World devs can sit down and talk to us today about that. But going from 1.0 to 2.0, there was a story narrative that built each and every patch. And as a player, we were excited. We were providing feedback. We were participating in this and watching it unfold. And it was something very, very special. But we knew where we were headed. New World, in contrast, where I feel like they made their mistake, is that obviously they won the hype up, the console and the Reborn re-release here with New World Eternum, but they should have told us something along the way, brought us in as a community to be a part of it, saying we are shaping the future. Now, I feel like the devs have communicated that they're all in and Amazon's fully behind them and they're doing all these things. The work that they're doing for this isn't easy. Like, this is a massive effort by the team, and it does show to me Amazon's commitment to that. But I think communication could have definitely been better. I've said the same thing, especially about the Xbox events. It's like, I like the direction that they're going. I think that's the right direction. That's a very pro gamer move, but it's the communication. And maybe this is just coupled by obviously social media and, anger clicks and things like that. So there could be a part of it that's obviously out of their control. But that being said, I think that they could definitely do a lot of improving when it comes down to their level of communication. But this is, again, in no way, I think, a bad move. I think this is going to be a really strong move. And I think it means that the fall time is going to be a really exciting time to see. And it's interesting, they're obviously launching in the fall. That's going to be a stacked month. I know October is going to be big, but we will be playing it. I will be playing New World Eternum. I'm very excited. Having the expansion means I have it. So what I would advise, if you don't have the expansion, see if they end up putting out a discount on it, because I think that's going to be critical, because that's just going to be something you get. And the fact that it's on console, but it isn't cross-save, means that I'm not going to go buy the game on console. There isn't a real big value there. Unless, for some reason, my wife wants to jump in and start playing with me, which would be, ideal, which is great. Like, I love playing games with her. But on that note, I want to, now that we kind of cover the 1.0 to 2.0 parallels and things like that, if I was going to say who did it right, communication-wise, 14 did it right. In New World's case, the game is evolving, so it's not like you can't go and ever play New World, right? Like, it's still New World. It's still got it's the foundation of the game and the world. It's not like the dramatic shift from 1.0 to 2.0. So it is what it is. But I think I really wish people could go play 1.0 just to see how it was and see how different it was now. But I get how bad of a transition that is. So I would, in a way, give a point to New World that the game still is continuing on. If this was a hard cut, if you lost your progress, if you lost your characters, if you like, if it was like, sorry guys, like we're gonna shut that down and go Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, I'd be way frustrated, but that's not what is happening here. Now, William writes, did they say anything about existing characters transferring over? So your characters aren't going to transfer over unless you're asking specifically about going from PC to console. Yes, there's no cross save, but your characters are your characters. And when New World Eternum drops, even if you don't have the expansion or purchase the update, you will still have the game and still be able to log in and play the game. You just won't have access to the new features like the raid and whatever else we end up seeing. It's not like they're going to run two separate clients. It's going to be the same client in this case. Now, Kamo writes, as in a reply to it, says, well, I think you're right, but I want to play with console players, so I'm fairly certain that they will all be going to fresh start servers. Thus, you kind of need to reroll if you want to be in the console population. And while I would say that they're probably going to have a fresh start server or kind of group of servers that is just dedicated to console players, I don't think they're going to limit console players from playing on existing servers. And that is where we're going to see, and if for some reason they do that, I'll obviously keep you guys up to date on any changes there. But having the choice is, I think, ideal. Now, yes, if they do make fresh start servers that are only console players, that will be interesting. But I do expect that they will obviously have fresh start servers, which means it's a fresh start. And if people like you want to play with want to go to those servers, yes, you will have to re-roll up to a certain period of time, which makes sense. Now, what that timeline entails, I have no idea, so to speak. But I would encourage you guys that there isn't too much. I don't think there's a real disadvantage in players coming in and playing in an established server. What it means is that they can actually benefit from the fact that there's a lot of capital like freely floating in the economy, plenty of gold to be made. So them finding resources and things like that, you have players who are willing to pay and have the money to pay for those resources. So you can end up getting caught up and making there's plenty of profit opportunities when it comes to the market and more within this game. Another thing that's also critical is that the game isn't going to kind of a free to play. I know that was, people have speculated that. Oh yeah, New World's failed, it's going free to play. It's like, no, buy to play is the right model. It's the right business model. And this is, I think, going to probably sell a lot of games. Now, we'll have to follow it up and we'll see how it actually is received in the fall. But it gives them another opportunity to be reviewed by mainstream media, obviously paid reviews, through, hey, they're not handing you a check, but they're handing you access to that. So you'll probably see some big streamers and content creators making reviews, and that's going to just open up the game again to the wider audience that has either since moved on or didn't get the opportunity to play it at PC release. Now, our man says they open up the game to more players, implementing server shards for better server pop management, teasing a new zone, a trial, and people are still unhappy because they didn't speak to the 5K remaining PC players directly. For the price of the game, you have at least more than 1,500 hours of gameplay. Most AAA game sites sits around 100 hours max. What a joke some people, PC players are, some real snowflakes. And it's, I think, in this case, our man misses one of the reason or the understanding of what was miscommunicated. Because once the reaction kind of settles down and people kind of like, okay, what is really happening? You actually start to see like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And this is going to benefit the PC players as well, because more players actually benefits the sandbox elements that this game has, the matchmaking elements that this game has. And I think with everything they put in, yeah, I think it's gonna be much better received and much more enjoyable, especially when you have a bunch of people playing. That's the beauty of kind of the online aspect, right? But in that terms of marketing and being told over and over again, even the fact is like they were kind of memeing on it. We can't talk about it. No, like all of that lead up just didn't pay off for somebody who was, and it was, again, for what I would state is it was the dev update specifically that did it. It's the dev update was just an echo of the main kind of announcement at Games Fest, and it really didn't. And if all they had to do is make the dev update about their current PC players, because the marketing stuff was handled by IGN, the marketing stuff was handled by Summer Games Fest, I think that would have been way better received in the long run. But yeah, I think if you're upset, that's fine. I think if you're excited, that's fine. Like everybody's going to process this all in different ways. Now, Newspin writes, I don't really agree with all the hate. Development studios need a forum where they can promote their product. This isn't a review, but it's obviously not intended for veteran players. This promotion specifically marketing to game the console players. And not only that, I think that they're going for a younger demographic, first MMO type of players. Gaming has changed a lot, and gamers have changed even more. Now, I love the overly enthusiastic audience, and the streamer actors were pretty lame. But this presentation was meant to accomplish specific goals, and I think the presentation accomplished that goal pretty well. I agree. I think from a non-direct PC, you separate myself from what I was hoping for this weekend from that, and it's absolutely the smartest move. Now, if they want to hit the younger demographic, I think they need to marry this with Game Pass. It's especially on the Xbox. If they marry the game with Game Pass, because there isn't any sub, and there's obviously things that you can buy in the game store with the seasons, opening up that game under that banner would be absolutely huge. I wonder if they would do the same with like PSN, for example. What that would do is that for everybody who already has Game Pass or has PSN, you have a potential new player. And from somebody who's got a lot of kids, when I see people not like Game Pass for whatever their theories and reasons are, I say, like, as a parent, it is essential from an entertainment perspective. Obviously, essential being a funny word because it's entertainment, but like when it comes down to what money we put into the entertainment budget, yes, Game Pass is absolutely there because we absolutely use it, and especially with kids in the house. It pays for itself over and over again rather than wanting to try and go out and get every game that's out there. Then anyway, he continues, I can't even fault them for mostly ignoring longtime players, IMO. They have been working towards this launch since the month after the game initially launched, and they lost over 80% of its player base. I know this is a number that comes up a lot, and I keep heading home. Hype numbers don't represent actual community, and so yes, like you can apply that to every MMO launch. It's the exception where that doesn't happen, and I don't know of any exception where that hasn't happened in the last several years that isn't Lost Ark, which had the same problem and the same thing happened to it, but when it launched in the West, it was already 3 years old and mature, and thus was able to offer a lot more. Now, over the course of time, I don't know where their current population sits at the moment, but there we go. Anyhow, they said the presentation and the rebranding of the game on its reason they provided multiple years of additional support and development. New World has been in beta for the last 3 years. In October 2024, the actual launch of the game, I think that they're hoping for a Final Fantasy 14 ARR type revival here. Maybe not as big of that scale, but similar. I don't think that this is really terrible for the game at launch, except for Monster Hunter Wilds. I think this is the only release that I would have any meaningful impact on the console launch of New World. They don't play the same, but there are enough similarities that they are action based and multiplayer ones. Yeah, there's going to be some level of competition, and I think that's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, October's looking stacked. This month is already just jam-packed and stacked. And so I think at the end of the day, like, it's going to be really interesting to see. And that's why I hope the devs sit down and talk to us today directly about this, because then we can see about what the next, what does the road to October look like? Have we been just glorified beta testers? The nice thing is that I don't need to spend any more money on them because I already have the New World Eternum, and honestly, I'm just looking for a reason why I need to go and play, and hopefully we'll get that reason soon. Anyway, guys, as soon as we do, I'll be sure to sit down, hang out with you guys, talk to you guys about it as well. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to everybody who's been new over the course of the last several days, and hopefully, guys, I will see you in the next video. But until then, take care.